Hey guys, welcome back. As promised, I have my husband here, Ray Johnson, and we are talking about this issue with Pastor Tony Spell. So I brought Ray on because in addition to that video, we watched it yesterday and we are going to watch it today so that Ray can make his comments. But I wanted to bring him in here because he's got so much experience. So he's got expertise in firearms. He does a lot of teaching. And so before he had his own business, well, at the time he had his own business, he used to teach a lot of classes through a school. And he used to bring me in to teach as well. And that's what I was talking about yesterday. So Ray's expertise also is with church security. So he consulted with churches. He would create teams. He would actually do church security. And what I want to do is clarify some of the things that I talked about yesterday. And I want to bring Ray in to talk about those threats that have been alleged, because people are going wild about not following the law as it relates to the actual act that we watched in the video, where Tony Spell was on top of the young man and was actually just pounding on him. That is the actual act that resulted in the charges, and it was correct. So when people are saying, well, he threatened, he did that, well, it really doesn't matter, because it was a condition precedent threat if there was a threat. So as you know, right now, the police are saying that the threats that Tony Spell is saying that the young man said about R-wording his wife and family and things like that, those have not been corroborated by any video, audio yet. In Tony Spell's press conference, he said that there is some. Well, bring it on, because we haven't seen it yet. But what I'm going to do is act as though those threats actually occurred. We don't know for sure, but that's what we're going to do in this segment. And so what Ray is going to do is talk about what you would do lawfully in that circumstance. So let's talk about that. So Ray, I know that I worked with you in this field, but also watched you as well when you would go into churches and you would do consults. I'm going to give you the scenario. All right. I know you don't know a lot about this, so I'm kind of feeding you the information, which is good, because you're just going to give your true opinion. These are the allegations that Tony Spell, the pastor who was charged with second-degree battery, that he and his family endured all kinds of threats by the neighbor across the street and their family, to include like inappropriate gestures, grabbing his, private part, kind of chasing them down the street in their car, making the wife, have to swerve off the street, or just get away from him. Just, annoying behavior, what would be considered stalking behavior, what would be considered threats, any of those things. If there was such a history, our puppy's underneath the table. And so I stepped on him. Sorry, baby. And so those kinds of things, those threats, mm-hmm. If you were the pastor and that was happening to you and your family, and you lived across the street from the people that are allegedly doing that, what kind of things would you do?
Oh, I would just get a lawn chair, sit in my yard, and wait for him to come over. Is that you're not looking for that answer? My bad. Big deal. So he's yelling words. He's not on my property. So what is there really anything I can do?
All right. If you were to consider that he was threatening to unalive your family, threatening to R-word your wife, threatening to R-word your children or grandchildren, and unalive your entire family the next time you go out of town, what would you do?
Police report. Those are lethal threats, acts of violence against me or my family.
Right.
Police report every single time. I'm going to create a paper trail and create something. So if and when allegedly something were to happen, I had documentation. I called the police department 19 times on this dude, filed a report. They're going to tell me the same thing. Well, we really can't do anything. until, unfortunately, that's how our system is set up. We have to wait for something to happen in order for law enforcement to get involved, bar, terrorist threats, acts of violence, mass casualty type events. I'm gonna do something to a school, blah blah blah. But words of violence against me or my family are just words of violence against me or my family. Am I going to prepare on my property and on or about my person every time I step out my door? I absolutely will. I'm going to take him seriously, but I'm not going to preemptively do anything just because he's yelling.
Right.
He's running this.
I just laughed because you said about my person, because I kind of made fun about that. Did you do that
on or about my person?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just interject.
For immediate use. So, yeah.
All right. So let me interject. There are laws that relate to terroristic threatening, to stalking behavior, things like that. And so that goes hand in hand with what you're just saying about police report, document. Okay. That is what you would do. And as a prosecutor, I would get that, report, warrant. They would set it up like that to determine whether or not there is charges that I can file against that person that is allegedly doing these things. So that could happen. Now, in this case, it has been asserted by the police department that there are no reports. So if there are no reports, only until recently, that there were 2 events. It was reported in May, and then they're looking back to an event that occurred in March of this year, 2026, and then another that happened in May. Well, that's a start. And those reports were of the behavior like grabbing the genitals, and, possibly saying some things that are not so nice and saying, curse words and things like that. As a prosecutor, just based upon that, no, I would not sign a warrant for stalking or anything. I would need more. However, you could go down to the courthouse and you could get a protection order for you and your family. Now, that's personally. Now, again, just based upon that type of evidence, what we have is also the assertion, because Tony Spell said this in his press conference, that all the people standing behind him, and there was tons of people, that every single one of them constantly were enduring all of these threats and things like that. Well, those people would have the opportunity to do the same. So we don't know sitting here right now whether they did that. If they did do that, then perhaps they can, go to the prosecuting attorney's office, the DA, whatever it's called there, and they can file charges against those people that are doing those things against them. Additionally, individually, they can also get a personal protection order. Now, as it relates to the church body as a whole, because most churches, they have some type of a safety team. Remember when we used to consult, we would tell them, call it a safety team. Most of your people are volunteers. A lot of them are going to be ex-military, ex-police, or maybe they're police currently and they're volunteering. I used to come in a lot because back in the day, I would talk to them about the laws relating to that, especially if they have firearms and they're around children, the nursery, the daycare, the Sunday school class, things like that. Okay. And I was talking to my friend Everett this morning, and I remembered about 15 years ago when we used to do that. And a lot of these churches that we used to go to, they were looking for loopholes, ways to get around the law, unfortunately. And I would tell them, no, you can't have a firearm around kids. If there's, how many it was, I can't remember because I did that so long ago, but whatever the laws were at the time, I don't know if they changed. And, because they wanted to keep their firearms, and I get that. But, if you are not paid and you're volunteering, you're dealing with a whole bunch of liability. And I'm not going to get into that because it's not necessary. But just from the aspect of protecting the church, let's not even talk about property, just the people that are at the church, because the laws are different in defense of person and property. And so if there was a credible threat by these people that lived across the street to the church, what would you do to engage your safety team?
Well, we already know we have an individual that has, how do I say it respectfully? There's something going on with this individual that could he have the capabilities of following through with his threats? Absolutely. We never know. But as a security team, we're going to keep an eye on him. We're going to watch our cameras, or as when we're outside, we're going to make sure that he doesn't come onto our property. That's our gateway right there. It's like an invisible, shot collar for a dog. We're waiting for him to cross this imaginary. Well, it's not even imaginary. That's our property line. Until he comes on our property, we're not going to do much, unless we see obvious and some sort of an obvious weapon that can travel a distance and affect us. So, but words, yelling from across the street, dude, he can do that all day long. We don't care. We're going to ignore him. We're going to keep an eye on him, but we're going to ignore him until he crosses over that threshold. Then he comes on his property. That's when we're going to get involved. Obviously, we would, if we were hired to protect the pastor, that the pastor's family, any VIPs that came on property, the security team is that barrier between them and the alleged threats from another person that's directed towards the pastor. The pastor he would never get it. He or she would never get involved with any altercations with a person. Boom, we're there. We're the shield. We're doing the screen. Boom. They're going to be engaging with us, not our VIP or our principal. So, I don't know if that church has a security team or anything. Obviously, he stated he was out there doing work on a bus or something, changing batteries or whatever. Clearly, he was out there by himself, or he would have had people. I would have hoped that his security team was on duty. They would have grabbed him and said, "Pastor, no, stay over here. We'll handle this for you." And we're just going to go to the edge of the road and make sure that guy doesn't come across.
The safety team.
Yeah, the safety team. So
that was my understanding, is this happened on a Monday. So it was last Monday of last week. And so it's in, the afternoon, I think it is, or the morning, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. So Tony Spell is on his property, and it sounds like they live on the property where the church is, that the pastor's family lives there. That's what it sounded like to me.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So maybe that's why.
Which is common.
Yeah, so maybe that's why, he's working on the buses, right? He said that.
Okay.
And this is the part that I don't understand, and I don't know if you even picked this up. In his press conference, because if you look at it, it's like 2-3 football fields away from where Tony Spell was working on his bus to where the young man was across the street. And apparently, according to Tony Spell, this young man is yelling stuff, what he said. But the way that Tony Spell said it on his press conference, he said, and this guy said. Now, when you're recounting something and you're really recounting what happened, you typically act it out, or you say it the way or the tone. He said. He didn't say yelled or screamed. If it was that far away, I would expect that witness. Remember, I'm a prosecutor. These are the things I look at and look for. He said. This is what he said to me. I'm quoting him. I'm going to our word, And he didn't raise his voice at all. That was very strange to me. Very strange. Typically, when you're recounting, I take depositions all day long. I've done probably tens of thousands. Everybody has an inflection in their voice when they're recounting something like that. This man did not. So that's a red flag to me. But even so, if, that was going on and he could hear it, if that young man was yelling things, if there was no safety team there, obviously there's nobody to restrain Tony Spell. That's a problem.
Correct. I would assume that he was briefed before his briefing to stay calm, don't get excited, don't show any anger, because we have all the proof we need of his attitude and his anger problem, and I'm going to call it that. Because
which one are you referring to?
Tony.
Okay.
Because
what
for the actions that took place in that video, that individual has more going on inside their head than what we saw in the video. for him to travel that far and still be in that state of mind to do what he did, there's a bigger problem here than what we've seen.
Right.
So and he's by himself, obviously, he had enough and he probably just snapped.
Right. And that's what people are saying, that he had enough, and they are rationalizing that. However, like you said, if this was going on for so long, his safety team would have known about this stuff.
Sure.
And they would have taken measures, right? And what would they have done? I mean, you said that they would have warned him, or if that was really going on, wouldn't the safety team have been more proactive?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. But it being a Monday, I'm guessing that the security team probably wasn't even there.
Right.
It's a Monday church,
right.
Other than VPK or something like that.
So it's unusual.
Yeah, it's very unusual that he was by himself, and
that's how it is. They live there. So this is unique, yeah. I should say. It's a unique situation, because typically, like when you were dealing with the classes that you would do with situational awareness, when you would go into the churches and do that, it's when the churches are happening, they're operating, right. They're having services. But in this case, it wasn't like that. And that's where they live. So you already have these families that are feuding. And I think that, really what you have to look at is, where's that trail of evidence that corroborates what you're saying? Because right now we're really working on hypotheticals other than the objective video that we have.
But I think we're missing the fact that, even let's say we did have all that evidence, we had all the proof, we had all the police reports, it doesn't justify what he did in the video.
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't. No, there's nothing that could justify traveling that distance onto another person. That's almost. Had I gotten my car and driven over to the parking lot to where I was going to commit that act, that's premeditated. I mean, that's pretty dang close. I thought about it. Hey, I'm going to go over there and do this.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing can justify that video.
100%.
Nothing.
I'm glad you said that, because we can talk about it and there's going to be things that we miss, but when he had time to cool off. And the only reason why you're coming over there is because you're a threat. And as a prosecutor, I would really focus on the video that the young man was taking. I know it was shaky, but what I would do is I would grab a still from that, and it shows Tony Spell's face. And it also records Tony Spell saying, "I'm going to break your neck." So we do have that. But what Tony Spell says that this young man was saying is not recorded on video. But I've seen podcasters talking about, oh yeah, when the guy's coming over, when Tony Spell's coming over, that's when the guy's saying it. No, there's nothing recorded. So the Ring camera on the property doesn't record that. And the video by the young man who's got the video up that was beaten up to a pulp, it's not on his either. So when Tony Spell's walking over there, he has the opportunity to retreat. He has the opportunity to turn around. And so yesterday when I was doing it, I was doing the stand your ground analysis, but I was going back and forth because some people think that the young man was at fault. So looking at it from the defendant, who is Tony Spell, whether he has the opportunity to use stand your ground, that's going to be an issue at the trial. So we have him coming, just like you said, and it was about 2 or 3 football fields. He had the opportunity to cool down, to change course, to make a decision. No, I'm not. And then probably his testimony is going to be, oh, I just wanted to talk to him. Well, I don't think you wanted to talk to him if you're walking over there aggressively and you're saying, I'm going to break your neck. So I'm sure that this is what the police and the prosecutors are looking at, and they got their guy. Absolutely, 100%. And then people are making a big deal about when he does get over there, and then the young man takes his shoes off and throws the first punch. And I would have done the same thing. I would have thrown the first punch as well to defend myself against somebody that's coming over there. And what I was saying was that young man, he didn't have a duty to retreat. He's in a place where he has the right to be. Stand your ground doesn't apply to him because he was not charged with it. Tony Spell was charged with it. So Tony Spell is in a place that he has a right to be when he's in the street, arguably not when he's in the yard, but he wasn't formally trespassed. But he's committing a crime because he's now beating the crap out of somebody, and he should be retreating because that person's not a threat. So the bottom line is all of those things that have been alleged to have been said, those are conditioned precedent threats. They're in the future, and we don't know if they're ever going to happen because, like Tony Spell even admitted, it would only happen if he went out of town. So that's not an imminent threat, and that's just the law. And people don't like it, but go up to your legislator, go ahead and do that, and say, I want laws that allow me to beat to a pulp anybody that threatens me. Here's the thing, and sorry, I'm taking so much, and people probably are getting upset. They want to hear from you, but let me just say this: Imagine if this was an off-duty police officer, that it wasn't Tony Spell. Can you just imagine? It was an off-duty police officer, the same thing. They live across the street from each other, alleging that these things are happening. And there's video of the off-duty police officer on a 20-year-old beating him to a pulp. What we would have is Louisiana on fire right now. But because it's a pastor, it's okay. That's my 2 cents.
Or a security officer for that matter. We would hang that security officer up to dry if they conducted themselves like that. Even if it wasn't any of those, no pastor, it was just an ordinary civilian doing what they did, what we see in that video, we would go to town. Why is that guy navigating traffic to get to the other side, to go on somebody else's property or to engage that person? We would hang them up. They would be canceled.
Yeah. But for some reason, this is sticking with people as good job, even people, unfortunately, that we know. It's very, very troubling because people here, you're in a camp. It's either, you are open to learn the law or you're not. I think it's just one or the other. And if you're interested in learning the law, you're going to have to look at the law and just do some research, because you don't have to have like a system like I have, because I'm an attorney. It's, thousands and thousands of dollars, but I have access to all court cases. But you can still Google it, ChatGPT, you can find that stuff and find out how in your area those kind of cases will pan out and what the laws are in regard to justifiable use of force. So yeah, I mean, like, moving forward, this guy, Tony Spell, he got out of jail, and I'm sure that there are bond conditions. All right. So when you put up a bond, you could lose that bond if you violate any of those conditions. I promise you, one of those conditions is that he not have any contact at all with the victim. So there's that. I don't know what's going to happen there with that, since they live so close to each other. Those are going to have to be navigated, negotiated, whatever. There's also another thing that's going on because this, and did you ever see the video, the pictures of the injuries?
Yeah, I saw them. Yeah, they
were pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I can just guess.
Looks like an MMA fight.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then Tony Spell gets out of jail with a little bit of blood here. I'm gonna go preach now.
Probably wasn't even his.
Right. It was probably the kids. Yeah. And so I want to say two things. So that kid, that young man, I'm sure that there's lawyers that are, he's probably already lawyered up, and he has every right to sue for those damages, and he can sue civilly. The other thing is when, this is just something I noticed, what Tony Spell, to me, in my opinion, I found him to be arrogant. I don't have to spend a lot of time looking. This is what I do on this channel, not looking for arrogance, but I can see it. It's obvious with Tony Spell. When he got out of jail, and then he goes and he preaches, he's talking about being in the cell, and there's a bunch of people there, and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I know who he is. My wife says he's Jesus." And he doesn't even correct him. He bragged about that. from his pulpit saying that somebody in the cell, their wife, referred to Tony Spell as Jesus, and he didn't even correct him. I found that to be extraordinarily troubling. So I do believe that there's going to be a lot that comes out in this case. And moving forward, there are things that both sides can do legally, lawfully, to protect themselves, to protect their families. So anything, oh, let's look at the video. You want to watch it?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's bring it in, and you can just tell me when you want me to stop. I know you see things pretty with a hawk eye, so. All right. Can you see it on here? I'm going to move this, but I can't because I
just
okay.
click it. Yeah, there you go.
I just want to stop because somebody actually commented on my video yesterday, and they go, how did you see that the victim was yelling help on no audio? Maybe there wasn't any audio. I don't know, but there's audio here that we can hear, and hopefully you can hear him yelling help. So hopefully it came through.
Stop right there. So even in MMA, a fight in the octagon, a ref would have stopped it right there. The person is not defending themselves. All they're doing is covering up and trying to protect themselves from the barrage. A ref would jump in and boom, that fight's over right there. I'm not saying that this is a legal fight or anything like that, no. But they know the damage that can be done with strikes like that.
All to the head.
Yeah, that fight would be over. And right there, stop. That right there, if we could find the audio where he says, I'm going to break your neck.
It's on his video.
It's on it's on his personal phone.
Yes.
That right there, I'm not even a prosecutor, but I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Easy.
Mr. What's his name? Tony
Spell.
Mr. Spell. Could you articulate for me what you were thinking at this very moment right here in this video? Hold on, let me back it up and I'll play it again for you, because I would really, really like to know your thoughts, because you graciously explained to this young man as you were approaching him that you were going to, quote unquote, break his neck. I would like to know your thoughts on what was transpiring through your little brain at this moment right here. This one right here. This one.
Oh, too bad I can't cross-examine this guy.
Strikes to the temple.
Pulling his hair.
I'll tell you.
Pulling his head back. So he can get him in the face.
Pause this for a second. Pause this for a second.
Horrible.
I'm going to tell you right now that he's actually, Mr. Spell, he's actually very, very lucky that he didn't K this guy. He didn't unalive this kid with the strikes that he was.
That's right.
He was delivering to his head.
Mm-hmm.
He should be praising the Lord that more harm was not done. He should be, because does everybody remember the knockout game that used to go on? It was years and years ago, and most of the individuals that were unalived or seriously injured to the brain was not from the strikes. It was from either them hitting the ground or striking their head on something else. But it was that first strike that delivered the blow that caused them to fall, that caused them. But this was multiple strikes to the head. And let's just say without a helmet. Let's talk to some football players on what happens to the brain when it's struck that hard that many times. So
Yeah.
he's very, very lucky.
Yeah. And even luckier still that the young man didn't have a weapon on him, because he would be absolutely justified in using that in self-defense.
Oh, absolutely.
And when Tony was on top of him, it's not even stand your ground. He's on top of him. So just like Trayvon Martin. So he could he could have used whatever he believed that. I mean, I would, if I were that young man with somebody doing that to me, I would think that my life is over. And you could use that. He would be able to articulate justifiable use of deadly force. So,
and that's the thing. Like, yeah, that actually does it reminds me of the Trayvon Martin case. What people don't understand about the Trayvon Martin case and Zimmerman is Zimmerman did call 911. 911 operator did tell him, no, don't follow him. Go back to your vehicle. And Zimmerman did that.
Eventually he did.
Eventually he did that. And that's when he was attacked.
Right.
And then everybody questions, well, Trayvon Martin didn't have any weapons. He actually did. He had two hands and he had a sidewalk. And
his body.
And he was on top of Zimmerman and told him, you're going to die tonight. So, and that was slamming his head on the ground. And obviously, I'm going to believe you if you're doing that to me. So,
yeah. And so based upon what this guy's doing, I didn't count the blows. Other people have counted over 20 blows. I mean, it would only take maybe 3 or 4 blows for me to think my life might be over.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the kick.
Yeah, let me just back that up.
Man.
Oh, I know. Wait. People are laughing at this. It's so grotesque. People who claim to be Christians. Look at that. Drags him by the hair. Kicks him in the face. Yeah, he's real scared of that kid. Yeah. Unreal.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate video. I'm glad the video was recorded, to be honest with you. And here's the thing about, we don't know what else is going to come from this. Not just the incident, but this highlights his church. This puts a big shining spotlight on his church. What else is going on there? If that's the attitude of the pastor, wow. What kind of congregation do you have?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Allegedly, whatever. But
so the big and burning question is, why would Tony Spell do what he did? And y'all have believed him. Y'all have believed him and hook, line, and sinker. You believed his story and saying that, hey, I'm a man. I'm going to protect my wife and my children. But did he? Because anybody in their right mind, if you use logic, common sense, reason, would think, okay, me going over to this person's house who have other people living there, and I just threatened that I was going to break his neck, and maybe others would come out and they might jump me, and I don't even have a weapon, but I'll risk it all because I'm just going to say, hey, I am protecting, I am this warrior man that people are trying to claim that he is. Oh, I'm David and Goliath. Yeah. I mean, it's so sick. And that he's going to go over there and risk his life so that he can be unalived and never, ever be able to protect his family like he claims he is. So there's that. The other thing is knowing that you're going over there and there's the possibility that you're going to get into a mutual, any type of a physical altercation. Perhaps you're going to get arrested like you did and perhaps go to prison like you should. And so I don't know, maybe he's a wizard, but from prison, can you protect your family like you want to?
That's the primary role of security officers or private security teams, EP, executive protection teams. Our primary role is to protect our client or our principal from, bodily harm, threats of lethal force, and so forth. But part of our job is also to protect our client from liabilities. And part of it could be as simple as, ma'am, sir, watch your step. Don't trip over the curb. Boom. We're protecting them. It could be something as simple as I'm walking from one location to another location to get to my principal on their property, and I see water on the floor. I'm going to make sure that that gets taken care of. So somebody doesn't slip and fall, and now my client's company's being sued because that person slipped and fell and nobody took care of some hazard in the way. I've been in situations where I've had to protect a client and their liabilities just from a perception and what it's going to look like if somebody from the outside sees my client doing this act or doing this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but my job is to protect my client. And I am that go-between that will block or screen or keep from visual, plain view what other people see my client doing. After the fact, I can bring my client aside, talk to the team leader, talk to the company owner on my side and go, hey, this is what took place. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think I can either work for that client but I'm going to continue to do my job while I'm on duty. So our security team would have told this pastor, sir, whatever you do, don't engage this person. Sir, whatever you do, don't go over there. Sir, whatever you do, call us. We will take care of that. We are that go-between. We are that protection mechanism to protect the liabilities, including being sued, including going to prison, including getting in a violent encounter.
Right.
Our job is to protect the safety and security of that client. And if he has it, we're assuming that he has a security team.
We don't know. That's the burning question.
Yeah, we don't know if he does.
We don't know. And if he,
I would imagine
he should have, knowing that he had that history.
Yeah,
that would have been a wise investment.
If the history has gone on as long as it has,
as they claim, I'm not going to say
as they claim. That's what I mean. Hypothetically, even on Saturdays, Sundays, Wednesday night services, you have a security team that is made well aware of, hey, watch this person over here. They like to yell. They like to scream threats. They like to do all this. They've screamed threats at all of our congregation. So we all know about it. Sir, whatever you do, don't go over there. We will handle it for you.
Right. But they would also make sure that they're marching each and one of those people who are victims down to the prosecutor's office to make a complaint.
Sure.
And that's why it doesn't ring true to me. So I'm open to evidence all day long, all day long. You got the evidence, send it to me. My email's in the description of my channel. I'll also link it. So what I'm interested in getting is what Tony Spell said he had, that his congregants have the audio or video of the threats. Don't have to give it to me, but obviously they're probably giving it to the prosecutor, the police, the sheriff, whatever it is, who's investigating. But I'm just saying, if anybody knows anything more that can add on to what we're saying, that's what I'm saying.
And I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning of the video. It doesn't justify what he just did.
I know it doesn't.
None of it. Okay, so what? Yeah, wow, you were right. Okay, we were wrong. We didn't believe you. Let's talk about the video.
Let's talk about the video.
Let's talk about the video.
Yep.
You're going to jail. It's his fault.
And unfortunately, okay, so what does that look like? I know we're going kind of longer than I wanted. I only wanted to take like 30 minutes of your time, but let me just tell you that real quickly. This is not going to be the last video anyhow, because I'm sure that people are going to be contacting. They always do. And so there'll be more information that comes out. There always is. What does it look like for him? From my understanding, I've heard this, but I didn't look it up. The second-degree battery is punishable by up to 8 years in prison. I don't know what he's going to grid, what his grid's going to look like as far as where he falls in. If he has any past convictions, whether they're misdemeanors or felonies, no matter what they are, they do get counted and scored. And so it could put him into a grid where he could definitely get prison time. Is he going to be eligible for probation? That's a possibility, especially if they're working with the prosecutor's office. But the victim, okay, the victim is going to have to be in agreement with whatever that is that they reach, like whatever plea agreement they reach, the victim's going to have a say and sign off on that, so to speak. So if the victim doesn't agree with that, then they're going to have to go to a trial. If this guy goes to a bench trial, if he waives the jury and he goes to a bench trial, oh my gosh, easy peasy for the judge. It's just slam dunk. But if he goes to a jury trial, I don't know if he's going to have that attorney that he had with him at the press conference, who appeared to not really understand whether threats are actionable, whether they're crimes, which maybe not in Louisiana. You know, we used to say in law school, like, Louisiana, okay, this is what's going on in Texas, this is what's going on in Oklahoma, but then in Louisiana, there's this, you know, it's, so I don't know sitting here right now what that's going to look like. And he could go to trial. And, but here's the thing. Jurors do take their roles very seriously. They take an oath, and they are required to listen to the law. They're required to watch all the, you know, the testimony, the evidence that comes in. And then at the end, you know, if I was the prosecutor, I would have that picture of Tony Spell coming at the victim and saying, I'm going to break your neck. That I would have that as my demonstrative. If the jurisdiction allowed for it, I would have that in my opening and my closing. I would, I definitely think that if he does go to a trial, whether it's in front of a judge or a jury, and he gets convicted, then, you know, your likelihood of just having probation or jail are probably low. And yeah, let's see. I mean, and then who knows? What if, you know, there's other evidence that comes out? Well, that can be taken into consideration. People, again, let's just consider, oh, but, you know, this person's threatened him. Okay, that's fine. But again, we're talking about the video, and that act, what we saw, that in and of itself is the end of the act. Think about this. Like, say, remember I talked about this yesterday, where it bounces. You can go aggressor, victim, aggressive, mutual, M. So you can be an aggressor and a victim. And then the aggressor kind of pulls back, and now you're mutual, and now the victim becomes the aggressor. It bounces. I mean, I've seen the continuum a million times over. And then let's just do this hypothetically, because I like to do hypotheticals. What if, you know, Tony, he kicks him, right? And then the kid, he walks away, and then he just is like, oh no, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to jump on his back and start beating him. So now, this is just a hypothetical, guys. You've got the victim who is now chasing after Tony Spell. He now becomes the aggressor. And then there's a new act, but we don't have that here. Okay.
But I think we need to add, and I'd like to add this. Do I agree? And I've encountered individuals just like this kid. They want to yell, they want to talk, and we just stand there and let them. We words are not going to hurt us. We're not, you know, we're looking for an act. We're looking for that, those not, yes. And I want to give kudos to the kid. Actually, do we have his name by chance? No. Well, I want to give,
I don't remember.
It's okay. I want to give kudos to him, because if you watch the video, he waited, stayed on his property until the very last second, where he knew that now it's imminent. It is about to happen. It's about to go down, and he struck. He started to defend himself, and the defense was appropriate. This person was rapidly increasing the speed at which he was coming at that kid,
and saying he was going to break his neck,
and
at the same time,
and yelling the threats that he was going to do certain things to him. But that kid waited until the very last moment, at which, now's the time I need to defend myself. He never left the property until that time. He didn't go onto the sidewalk or start advancing towards the pastor. He stayed right on his property until the moment he knew he needed to act. And he did. And I give kudos to that. It almost makes me think he knew what his boundaries were. And you and I talked about this. The enemy was fishing, and the enemy got that pastor to swallow that hook, line, and sinker. The enemy was taunting him. And as soon as he swallowed that hook, the enemy said, now I got him. Watch this, folks.
Yeah.
Watch this. I'm going to get him into the boat. And he did. And he swallowed it. That pastor got snookered.
Yeah. I agree.
So
Thank you.
can I get my almond joy now?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So thank you, Ray.
You're welcome. Hey, thanks, folks, for listening.
And I'll see you soon.